Hi, I'm Wanhee and I used to look like this. I know it's not super fat or anything, but it's definitely the chubbiest I've ever been. Now I look like this, and for most of the year I look like this. Between then and now, there are many things that have changed. And if you can just change some of the things I outline in this video, you'll also be on your way to a lean and aesthetic body. So let's get into the 7 things that keep you fat. Have you realized that the food that you can access very easily is all very processed, very unhealthy, very much filled with sugar and additives that trigger your palate? Your food environment is not set up to help you get lean, to help you get healthy. It's instead designed to make you addicted, make you crave those sugar and dopamine hits, and make you gain fat. So what do? You gotta first of all make the decision, okay, I need to go for whole foods instead of processed foods. That's the first thing. A watermelon is good, a chicken is good. But a Twix, Mars bar, Doritos situation, you already know what's happening. They've masked all kinds of evil substances with chemicals. Next, you and I, we're influenced by the people around us, whether it's parents saying, oh, I made this, you should eat it. Whether it's friends saying, hey, it's Friday or Saturday, come out with us, have a drink. Oh, what do you mean you're on a diet? Screw that, man. Have a little bit of fun. Who cares? Who's been there? And you and me, because you don't know how to stand up for your boundaries, you want to get along, you kind of have the drink, you start agreeing with people too much, and before you know it, you've gained all these pounds back when you were on a good way. So your social environment is absolutely going to affect how lean you are. But you don't think like this, because we all blame it on you. The fitness industry and everyone is saying, what are you, like, go on a 10-mile run? They all just blame. I've lived in a shared house with friends that are always bringing in processed Domino's 2 for Tuesdays, fried chicken ordering every night. And I've also been living with my parents where the food is extremely healthy and clean all the time. I've also lived by myself where I get to shop and cook my own food, and all of these have produced drastically different results. You can guess which one was the best for my health and which one was the best for building a lean and aesthetic body. And I can tell you by far the worst was living with people that are constantly bringing temptations on the table. So what do? You got to audit your social environment just like you audit your food environment. You say, which social engagements, which people, which friends, which family members lead me to overeat or go off track or engage in unhealthy behaviors like binge drinking and smoking. And you want to just cut it out as much as you can. Don't go on those nights out. Just say, no, I care about my health now. I know for a young guy listening to this right now, it might sound like completely impossible almost. Like if you told me that when I was 22, just like, don't drink, don't go out, I'll just be like, dude, what are you on about? You know, this is my life. Maybe you do go out, maybe you still have those fun times having cocktails. I still do sometimes, but it's definitely done in a much more conscious way where I choose those times without being overwhelmed and flooded by those instances and feeling guilty afterwards. Next, if you're someone that's been brought up in a household where you always have dessert, maybe you grew up in a culture and in a family where carbs was such a big part of your daily meals. If you're like an Asian guy, East Asian guy, if you have a lot of carbs and not enough protein, and this upbringing, what you're used to in your food culture actually is embedded in the things that you want and the things that you think you need. How do you change this? You can go back and see what happened and be like, okay, I'm pretty much used to having carbs all the time, breakfast, lunch, dinner. What are some of the things that I can change right now that can help me move towards my goals? Okay, maybe it's to do fasting and not have breakfast. Maybe it's to reduce incrementally the size of my rice bowl compared to the size of meats and proteins. There are just these little things that come as a result of you becoming aware of your upbringing, and this is one of the best things you can do. Next, realize that every choice you take at each moment, you're building momentum in that direction. You're building habits and behaviors in that direction. You think just having Diet Coke is just having a Diet Coke, but having that one Diet Coke is making it more likely that you'll have another Diet Coke the day after. And having 5 Diet Cokes in a row is going to make it damn sure that the week after you'll probably have a Diet Coke as well. So become aware of some of the habits and behaviors that you're installing into yourself with your everyday choices. Are they the kind of choices that are going to get you to your goals or not? And if they're not, you should be able to say, okay, these habits are bad, like waking up and sleeping at the wrong time. This is clearly detrimental to consistency in my workouts and my diet. Binge eating by leaving my dinner times too late. This is clearly a bad habit. It messes with my sleep as well. So you become aware of these habits and behaviors you have, then you start to cut down on it. Next, we all have traumas that have been instilled in us through childhood. And I don't mean some necessarily grand event like you got beaten or abused or something. Of course, it could be these instances as well, but something very trivial that the child you could not digest in her psyche, in his mental makeup of that age, becomes traumatic. So they just shove it into the unconscious, but it controls your behavior. It controls subconsciously how you relate to things and how you behave. Let's say you were constantly told off for eating a little bit too much and you were body shamed as a child. It wasn't like every night at dinner, but it was just once by your older sibling or like once by your mother or something. That child that couldn't actually react in that moment or digest what was happening, it just stays there. And just me telling this example, you guys will probably have certain instances in childhood where, like, just think of one now where you felt a bit of shame and guilt, you didn't know how to process it, and now you behave in ways that could have been caused by this initial traumatic experience. Next, for the clients that I work with or my community members that make the best like body transformation, best changes, they actually really want this. And that's the only prerequisite. If you genuinely really want to change from chubby to lean, you can do it. It's just a lot of people are like, oh, that sounds nice, but I've never done it. So you kind of just half-ass want it. And this is one of the biggest reasons why people stay the way they are. You have to realize, okay, this is number one priority now. I'm going to actually get this no matter what. And if you're watching this far in the video, you probably want to do it a lot. So if you want me to help you do that, check out the community below where I coach people on a weekly basis to help you do that. Let's get on to the next one. The final thing that will keep your body chubby, fat, wherever you want, exactly where you are, is your skepticism and your limiting beliefs. You're very skeptical about whether what I'm saying is even true, whether it's actually going to work. You're very skeptical about yourself because you've maybe failed in the past and you've done things that didn't work out. You failed your diet before. So you start to think like, oh, it's not going to work. It's going to be too hard. Like, I've always failed. I'm just going to end up binge eating. You have these little voices as genuine subconscious or semi-conscious beliefs in your head. And that actually manifests itself in your behaviors, because if you believe those things, then when the temptation comes up, you're automatically more likely to succumb to the temptation. Imagine if you had the alternate belief, like, every failure that I had was just the learning lesson until I make it. And this time, I'm actually going to make it. And this is the year, this is the month where I actually start the journey to the incredible transformation of my life. Because all those failures, I've learned so much and I'm so ready now. Like, if that was your belief and then a temptation comes up, how are you likely to act? Compared to someone that's like, oh my God, everything I do never works. Which one do you think is going to succeed? If there's one thing that comes as a theme from all the points in this video, is the idea of auditing yourself. You need to know things about yourself, your upbringing, your traumas, your unconscious and subconscious beliefs, your lack of will, your social environment, your food environment. All of these things you need to start to audit and see. And that's a much more holistic way of looking at transforming your body than just like the standard fitness advice of like, just work out and stay in a calorie deficit, which of course is important as well. See you in the next video.